Ghost of Tsushima. Kyle Hilliard, you have finished this thing. How would you sum it up? How is it?
You ready to take a note, Hanson?
Yeah.
I fucking love that game.
Oh, wow. All right. And
that's it. Next segment, Paper Mario.
Well, we should also note, by the way, that Sony provided the codes. Yes. I just got to give that disclaimer out there. How long did it take you to finish that thing?
That's tough to say because there's no hour counter.
Yeah.
But it does feel long. I don't mean that in like a negative way, but like it is one of those games that's like there's these two gates where the world keeps expanding and expanding, and like it's one of those things where it's like, man, I kind of feel like I'm at the end of the game, and it's like, nope, you have like a whole nother section of this island to take care of, you know?
Yeah.
So like I'm seeing people estimate online like around 50 hours, and that feels about right. I think it's around there.
Okay. Jeffem, you've been playing too?
Yeah, I'm probably like 15 hours in at this point.
Okay.
Are you into the second area or still like in that first?
No, I'm still in the first area.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Cyril, you've been playing too?
I've only played like the first couple of hours because I've been busy with other games, obviously. But yeah, I haven't made it past that first area, really.
Sure.
Okay, gotcha.
It's really holding you guys up.
Leo, coolest gamer around. Have you checked this thing out at all?
I got a code right before I was going to leave Game Informer, and I was advised not to redeem it. That would be iffy to go on to do coverage somewhere else than,
Yeah, that's tough, though. That's very noble of you. Jeffem, what do you think of this thing overall?
Samurai in Ghost of Tsushima.
Oh. But Jeffem, what do you think about the game so far?
I effing like it, I guess. would be I am enjoying it. I was kind of surprised in the first couple hours where it was like, oh, like this is another one of those very traditional open world. There's a symbol on my map every 5 feet, and I'm going from one thing to the next. It's actually been a while since I've played one of those.
Huh.
And I think Ghost is an interesting mix of like some very interesting and unique, like when they really, home in on kind of the samurai setting and Japan as a setting and do unique things with that. It's really interesting. But then every now and then they'll just lapse into like very traditional open world where it's like, this is my 15th bandit camp that I'm sniping my way through, or like this is an actual tailing mission that I'm going on. I'm tailing this guy and I'm hiding in bushes as I'm following him, and some of those things have been kind of throwing me for a loop. They're like they pop up enough that it's like, oh wow, like more than anything, it's not like it's terrible gameplay or anything, but it's just surprising to me sometimes where it's like, oh, we're doing this kind of thing. I've done this a lot in games.
But because it's been a while.
The tailing missions definitely were the moment I was like, oh, really? We're doing this? Okay, but they're very generous. Like, I feel like they're more generous than most. So it's like, it's the best it's been done in a while, but it's still a tailing mission, ultimately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of comparisons to Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, and that's totally fair. Like, I think so. I mean, kind of jumping on, Jeff, you're kind of getting at it a little bit, but like the thing about Ghost of Tsushima is like, it's not an innovative game. I would not call it innovative or like really testing out like big new ideas in any real way, but like there's just so many little things that click with me so well where it's like, it just feels great to play. The combat is consistently interesting, and only even up to like the end of the game was still kind of like adding new ideas and like, being interesting. And like I think I've talked about before how much I love Sucker Punch games like Infamous and Sly Cooper, and this like feels closer to Infamous than I expected it to. Like the way Jin jumps and grabs onto ledges feels like Infamous characters. And then there's also things like the way that they've talked about the wind directing you, towards your goals and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I really love that, and I think it's one of those things that I will miss when I go to other open world games. Like, not ever having to... There was never a moment in the game where I was like, I wish I had a mini-map. Like, it's just...
Yeah.
It's integrated into the environment. It feels natural, and it's like... It always lets you know where to go, and you can look at the environment. You don't have to look really at icons on the map. The closest thing to an icon are the yellow birds that show up, which will help you get to your destination.
So
Yeah,
is the
yeah.
minimap not even an option?
I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
Unless I just missed it. Like it could be in there. It never occurred to me to even look for it.
That
there a
sounds kind of innovative to me. That seems
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Is it a regular map though?
Yes,
There is
there's
a regular map in
and
your-
you do look at that a lot. And there's fast travel is like a huge part of it, but the loading is really quick. At least it was on a PS4 Pro. Like I was impressed how quick the loading is.
I'm playing it on a base one, and I've been surprised by that too. I'll be like halfway through reading one tip when I'm fast traveling, and then you pop in. I was going to say, Hanson, kind of to what Leo was bringing up, that you say that it's not, it's not hugely innovative, but I feel like there are a lot of kind of small things that I was really surprised by and I haven't seen in other games. And the wind one is one where it's like, I want this kind of navigation in every game, because not only is it really built in really well and a subtle kind of effect, but it looks beautiful and it brings the world alive so much more to have like this constant wind that's just kind of, and so many different particles and stuff floating through the air, and that the fact that that's actually functional is really cool.
Yeah, speaking of functional, would you want to back away from your mic a little bit there, Jeffem?
I asked you like 5 times.
Well, when you count so quietly. But with the wind thing, I love it too, and I love that it's like not even a button press. It's just like swiping the D-pad is your little reminder of which way to go. But dumb question, is the wind always going the direction towards the marker, or is it just when I swipe the touchpad?
No, it seems like it's always generally blowing in that direction.
Okay, so if I'm just paying attention, it's not going to suddenly change like Wind Waker when it's showing the objective.
It seems like the swipe is if you really want them to hit you over the head with it, but
The dummy
otherwise
swipe.
generally it.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's a lot of other things. You mentioned the combat as well, Kyle, and I think that is another place where it deviates enough, and you have some really interesting, different mechanisms like the different stances and stuff that all make it, and just the pace of combat where you're really cutting down people in just a couple hits when you actually get hits in and stuff, and that all feels really satisfying. And I really like the standoff mechanic where once you find a group of people, you can just basically, instead of stealthing in it, you just call out to them, and it kind of goes into a cutscene where you're walking up to them in a very, samurai film-esque kind of way, and then you just hold in a button and you wait for the guy to attack you, and just the like, it's so well thought out in terms of the mechanics where you're holding in the button and it's just the releasing of the button at the right moment that makes him slash out. Like that is, those kind of little moments are just so satisfying, and that's what I've really been enjoying about it. And the fact that you're like writing haikus and you're going to onsen and reflecting on your memories of your uncle and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's where I think the game really shines.
A quick funny thing that happened to me last night. I was doing the haikus. I again to like elevate this game. I beat it. I'm still playing it. Like I'm still going in and trying to clean things up and find things. And I did all haikus, and I had one left. And I found out that the last one I had to do was like the tutorial haiku guy that I just missed. So the last haiku I did was a guy explaining me how to write haikus. And then Jin said, I should do some more of these. It's like, you already did, man. Like, they're all done.
But that kind of stuff is quaint now. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing as you start the game, before we even get to the title screen, which is maybe like an hour in, something like that. It is one of those feelings of, in that opening section of, okay, it feels a little bit antiquated. Feels like this could have been at the turn of the PS3, PS4 generation, just design-wise. And then when the world opens up, is that realization of, oh, this is what they spent all their time on. It's just the beauty of this world. And having that first moment of the world opens up, and I was just like, okay, I'm going to set my objective marker at this random point that's pretty far away here. And then just making that ride out there. And then it ended up being like a golden shrine on top of a hill. We had to do a little bit of platforming to get to it and stuff. And then just like this beautiful overlook of the island is like, okay, this is the game that I'm looking forward to playing, is exploring this island, not, necessarily the story beats or their more set piecey stuff, which they try and emphasize a little bit, maybe too much in the beginning there.
Yeah. The story is good overall, but it really it wasn't until like the last 3-4 hours that I was like really into it, which is like,
wow,
both a negative, but also a compliment because it like finishes really strong.
Okay.
Like really like a lot of the stuff that had been building up, I feel like is really like, you know, like you're holding down triangle, waiting for someone to attack you. They really let go of triangle at the right moment, like 40 hours into the game. And up to that point, it's fine. It's just like, it's not like super engaging, but like the last confrontations and stuff like are really good.
Oh, that's awesome.
And worth like seeing to the end, I would even say.
And I do like the presentation of all the story things, and you know, you have like the title screens that come up that are written in Japanese, and it's like, and even little side missions are like the tale of so and so or whatever, and they do have like really good camera angles and things that they'll throw in where it'll be like a big tracking shot of like a wide landscape, and you're like little guy going across it, and like some of those are just really nice touches back to kind of inspired by, you know, samurai film and those kind of things.
I think just
but I do feel like in terms of production values, like one of my first impressions was like they should have released this before The Last of Us 2, because that is such a hard thing. Like they should have just flipped those releases, and I probably wouldn't have been as, you know, critical or just I mean like I probably would have been so much more enthusiastic about it going into it, but it's coming up.
Yeah, I mean cutscenes feel a little stiff, but every cutscene is going to feel a little stiff after playing Last of Us 2.
Right.
Like it's just kind of impossible to avoid.
Well, and I also initially started trying to play it with the Japanese voices, you know, because I thought like, okay, this is the game. This is the perfect game to do that for. But it's the lip syncing is clearly just not adjusted for that. And it ends up feeling dubbed, even though that's supposed to be the like that's the one benefit of playing in what should have been the original language is it all looks completely off. And so I had to restart it and play it.
The reason I haven't made too much progress is because I played through that opening section like 3 times with like, well, how do I want to play this? Do I want to play this with like the Kurosawa mode? Because it's like a thing you can enable at the start of the game, which makes it black and white and gives you the Japanese audio. But I think you should just play it the way, like the standard way, because I think both of those options like don't really do the thing that they want you to. So like Jeffem said, there's no like Japanese dub for all the facial animations. And also like the black and white mode, there was a point where I thought it was nighttime and I turned it color because I was like messing with all the options, and it turned out it was day. And so it doesn't really have like the sense of contrast that a black and white movie does. So it doesn't feel like it's a black and white movie. It just feels like, what if we took this very colorful game and made it black and white? So like, even though it has like these allusions to like Kurosawa films, it doesn't feel like when they put that mode on it, you don't really necessarily get that effect. So I ended up playing it multiple times just to figure out if I wanted to. And you probably just should play it the way they want to, because it does look like the color stuff is just amazing. Like the way they use color and stuff to make the stuff shine, I think is like really well done. Yeah,
some of the best leaves I've ever seen in a game, and there are a lot of them. It's the leafiest game I've ever seen in my life.
Also some of the most, along with the best.
There we go. But yeah, Kyle, like that Last of Us comparison is so tough to shake myself out of. And we just finished the deepest dive in The Last of Us, so I've been focusing on The Last of Us so much. But even just small things, you know, like talking to an NPC, they give you a little side quest, and like the camera is just like this extreme wide shot. And then like if you walk up to the NPC later and see their face, like, okay, now I understand why they had to go for that extreme wide shot in this thing. And then the writing in general, it feels like dialogue from a movie from the 50s, you know, which is like what they're so inspired by, which is great, but at the same time, it feels a little bit flat and humorless, at least in that beginning section. I'm curious how much it evolves over time, Kyle.
There's one comedic character.
Okay.
That's about it. It is pretty humorless. Like there's a couple of good lines from Jin that I like, where he's just like thinking about, there's like little lines of interesting dialogue, but it's not a clever game. Like they're just trying to emulate that sort of style of film. And, you know, they do, but like the writing is fine. Like it's never actively bad. It's also never actively super interesting.
Wouldn't it have been cooler if they did the lip syncing with the Japanese voice track, and so it looked like an English dub? If they're going for that style so much, wouldn't that have been the comfortable configuration. Or people
Yeah,
just
they should have.
They did a terrible job lip syncing.
That's probably the case. Or they could do, I mean, I know Final Fantasy VII Remake had an impossible budget, but at the same time, they did lip sync for both languages. Like, it's not impossible, but maybe.
Right. I mean, even like Judgment did it. So, like, from Sega. Yeah. So it's not, I mean, obviously it would have taken a lot of resources, but it's not unheard of.
Yeah.
Yeah, then they used like AI for Final Fantasy or something, right? Didn't they like
something like
robots
that
to do it for them?
Yeah, so it's stupid not to just steal Square's hot AI, plug it into that game.
Yeah.
We don't know anything.
You just assume it's hot.
Oh, it's hot, all right. So is the takeaway, Kyle, like you love the game, but a lot of it feels like gameplay comfort food in a really cool setting? Is that the summary here?
Yeah, I think that's fair, and I don't think that's even like really a knock against it.
No, not at all.
I think it was Mike Mahardy had a tweet where he was kind of like, you know, it's not particularly innovative, it's kind of familiar, but like it's exactly what I want right now, and I can't put it down. And I kind of feel similarly, like it is comforting, and like they also, I mean, I don't even know if it's an innovation necessarily, but they do so much to like keep you out of menus. Like I was so intimidated by the stances and all the different. You can have like multiple. You have 2 different types of bow and arrows. And I was like, oh man, am I gonna like? If I want to do a sniper shot, I gotta go into the pause menu and like equip my long shot arrow, bow and arrow. But like that's not the case at all. Like every weapon, every stance can be like activated and used without entering a menu. It's all just a matter of like knowing the button presses. So it just keeps you in the world. It keeps you in the combat, and you're doing a million different things at the same time, which is great.
Yeah, and it does it in a really smart, intuitive way where you kind of you hold in one trigger and that will bring up your options for like throwables or something, and then the other one will do stances or something. Like it's really easy to figure out, and actually that is juxtaposed to The Last of Us 2's system, where it's like, okay, now I have to move over and then I have to press another button to go up in the weapon wheel to select my other pistol or something like that, where it's a lot more fumbly, which I guess it's supposed to be at that point for the game because you're digging through a backpack or whatever. But it is very streamlined and very satisfying. And I also want to say that it kind of grates on me that I'm going through bandit camps like all the time, but the core gameplay is still very satisfying when I'm doing those things. I think like the checkpoints are not great. Like you can a lot of times it's just like, okay, you're just back at the beginning of this bandit camp if you die during it. And that's another one where like The Last of Us had the best checkpoints ever. And so I'm sorry, I can't, not like compare those two in my mind, but just that core gameplay has kept me wanting to continue playing throughout, whatever criticisms I have of some design choices.
Yeah. It's I've heard a lot of people compare it to old Assassin's Creed, and I wonder if there's going to be this weird rebound this year where people are going to be excited for Valhalla, but there's definitely that crowd of like, I want the old AC experience. And at the end of this year, there's going to be a certain number of people that are like, the best AC game this year was Ghost of Tsushima. Is that going to be the discussion?
I mean, I feel like it has more in common with like a Far Cry than an Assassin, like a classic Assassin's Creed, maybe.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it actually, and I mean, it does stealth better than the classic Assassin's Creed games did stealth,
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
Nice. So Kyle, love it.
Absolutely love it. Maybe not to get ahead of ourselves, but like maybe my favorite game I've played so far this year.
Wait, do you like it more than The Last of Us? Love it?
Yeah. I Last of Us, like undeniably the more engaging story game. Like that story is incredible and had me like crying multiple times. But in terms of, to quote you, Hanson, a gamer ass game for gamers.
That's right.
Like I just loved it. Like it's like, I don't know. It just really clicked with me. And like, I loved that. Like I just was always in control of Jin and like always in control of the acts. Like in terms of just a video game that I liked existing inside of, like I really enjoyed Ghost of Tsushima.
If you enjoyed this clip from the MinnMax Show podcast, we think you'll like the full show too. You can find it by subscribing to MinnMax's YouTube channel or on your favorite podcast app. Any help spreading the word to keep our whole indie operation here running is appreciated. We're here for and because of the wonderful MinnMax community, so you're welcome to join.